course I'm going to love a Coors story because I'm here in Colorado. After they dumped all of their beer down good old Clear Creek, which if you haven't tubed is a fantastic time, they sold the malted milk to Hershey's. We've talked about that before. It's made in the chocolate. They also marketed their malted milk as nutritional drink for young children. The best meal for infants, they called it, next to your mother's milk. But more importantly, this blew my mind, and I had no idea this. They ended up getting into ceramics. And again, this has to do with because there's a ton of clay in Colorado. So they got into the ceramics business, which is really popular for them. They did great to the point that it's still going today. And it is the largest ceramics manufacturing in the world. And part of the reason it was so popular and got them off the ground is because it was during World War I was happening, right? Like they needed more ceramics for plateware, for kitchen stuff. So they kept going. The labware itself was actually used by Thomas Edison. Extra little fun fact in there. All right, so August Shell Brewing, most know as just Shell Brewing, has been brewing beer since 1860. And they were like, no, we're not dealing with this crap. We're not shutting down our doors. We'll do your soda game, we'll do your candy game, but we're also gonna do the bootleg game. And they actually did keep their doors open and like had beer going on. They claimed it was for the workers and for their sanity only, right? It was only the workers. It was just a perk. They're basically just home brewing for their workers. Wink, wink, I'm sure. As we kind of briefly talked about going into it, organized crime happened at this point, right? Because people wanted their booze, they needed to get it, so bootleggers happened and they started going on. And despite early signs of success that Prohibition was reducing crime by not having like alcohol out into the world and people getting drunk and having alcohol-related crimes, a decline in arrests for drunkenness did decrease by 30%. Seems kind of low considering like all alcohol was gone, but that's fine. People still found ways and they still got to it. And so we ended up with bootlegging and speakeasies and Al Capone, right? Like, go to Chicago and there's this huge increase of organized crime that the police were not organized and ready to do. Like, they were understaffed, they were underpaid, they were not successful in creating a way to sustain organized crime, which allowed it to boom and actually increased crime exponentially because of Prohibition. Speakeasies were booming up all around, right? The sneaky places. You go behind the bookshelf, you go have your drinks. One of my favorite funny facts about speakeasies that came up is mixology and making cocktails and drinks didn't come out of this like really bougie, now we have ice available to us. It came out of the fact that there was so much homemade junky tasting booze out there. They needed to cover it up. It wasn't because they wanted a watermelon slice in the brim of their glass. It was because it tasted awful and so they needed it to taste better. Not a beer fact, but it is an alcohol fact. And I find that to be funny because it's so prestige now, and it's, you know, you go to these speakeasies and you get these amazing cocktails, and really that was all made just to cover up the taste of crappy booze. So maybe you just like stick with, you know, the well drinks and when you're mixing them, because it's literally what it was made for. No one goes top shelf and gets it in their Bloody Mary. It doesn't make any sense. So we talked about during the Prohibition time that we had organized crime, right? And we had Al Capone come to life. He was estimated to have earned $60 million in the 13 years that Prohibition happened. And you can't tell me that was made legally. He did open a soup kitchen to help out the poor. I'm not convinced that he actually did that out of the goodwill of his own heart. I think it was kind of like, I fed you, now I need a favor if something comes up, but that's not necessarily a fact as much as opinions. It's a staggering amount of money for one person to have made, especially at that time. Should actually look up what the inflation amount with that would be. You want to learn what breweries did when Prohibition ended? Click here. We're getting into that story right now.